Hi everyone, this is Amanda from Willow and Pip. I run a handmade soap and candle company out of my home in Southampton, Ontario. I do this part-time and my channel is behind the scenes running a business while also working full-time. Today I am in my soap studio, candle making studio, and I am going to be doing bath bombs. So if this is of interest to you, please stay tuned. It's been a little bit actually since I have been in my soap and candle making studio. I've been doing more marketing. I've been doing some, printing of candle labels, designing candle labels, working more in the office side of the house, shipping product and delivering product for the beginning of the summer for some of the retail shops where I stock some of my products in our local community here. So it's kind of nice to get back into my soap studio, but as you can see, I've neglected it. So there's sort of half-started projects every which way. So today I will be showing some of the bath bombs that I'm wrapping, some of the bath bombs I've created. But it might be a little bit of an odds and sods type video today. I hope you enjoy. So I'm just going to come over to my wrapping station here. This is biofilm. It's biodegradable shrink wrap. I absolutely love this system. It's just huge roll. It's a pretty basic setup. This is the National Shrink Wrap system, actually, this mat, this heat wand, the biofilm, and this holder. If you just Google the National Shrink Wrap system, you'll see what I'm talking about. I bought this early days. It's been well worth the investment. You can wrap things sort of in a higher quantity. And I just find it really easy. But I do know you can get smaller scale. I did at one point have a smaller scale, just shrink wrap bags I would buy online and then hit them with a heat gun. Anyhow, because today we want to do some bath bomb shrink wrapping, I want to get this wand heated. It actually takes about 15-20 minutes to get heated up to the point where when you start to press it onto the biofilm, that it gives you a good seal and cuts. Just learning. So I'm just going to turn this bad boy on. I know it's on when the light is on, and I just want to make sure that it's, away from the wall a good distance, which it is. It's on the heat protected mat, so this bar here will heat up. I have made some kids bath bombs, and this is when I was talking earlier in my video about doing labels and whatnot. I was making some candle labels, but I was also making bath bomb labels. And these are what they look like. I'm pretty proud of them, actually. It took me a while to figure out how I wanted them to look. Here's a cloud, one of these kind of moon and cloud bath bombs with the label on that I created. These are kids, obviously, bath bombs meant for kids, but I wanted to try them out with, it's a new product offering where I'm going to be trying them out in a store that I provide some of my bath bombs in, and I haven't yet tailored bath bombs to kids. I've only done the circular bath bombs, these style, which kids can of course use, but they're more for adults, I would say, because they're a little more pretty, I suppose, have the botanicals, etc. But the store owner, the one store that I supply, suggested that I expand a little bit because the bath bombs have been selling so well, which has been a huge surprise to me. I feel like my business has almost shifted to, primarily making bath bombs and secondarily making soap and candles right now. But anyhow, her idea was to, try these kid-themed bath bombs, but with the caveat of my business is the all-natural route. So these are all colored with clays, which is kind of cool. My kids now are teenagers, but this would have appealed to me, when they were younger. And then any fragrances that are in these are just essential oils. So going the more natural route for these. I think the colorful route and the fragrance oil route is super cool too, but my niche is sort of the all natural. Anyhow, that's what I've been working on. So I've got the clouds, I've got the dinosaur. I've made them all. The butterfly, they all look the same. I've just listed the different essential oil ingredients, and then the botanical clay that I used for the coloring. I'm just going to do a little bit of setting up here to get ready to shrink wrap my bath bombs. I have kind of an island center set up here. And then over to the side of my shop, I have the actual stand where I do the shrink wrapping. But I just want to kind of get some gloves on, get my bath bombs staged so that I can kind of work through efficiently. So just bear with me while I move about my workspace here and get things set up. I do need to declutter a little bit. These boxes actually I have sort of pre-staged, so once I do shrink wrap the bath bombs, I will just put them in. I try to recycle as much as possible, so I just have saved these like really handy sized boxes where I'll just put them for kind of a waiting stocking or awaiting an order, rather than having to buy a bin or something. I just reuse the materials I have. So those are staged. Going to get rid of this. This was water I spritz when I actually make bath bombs. I'm just going to put that away. And then I have my tray. This tray is actually a little heavy, but I'm going to move this over here. So I have two kinds of bath bombs today. I have my Rose and Clay and my Sensitive, which is great. Just going to get a fresh set of gloves. Now these bath bombs I have made a good couple of weeks ago. I made them one weekend when I had the time, and I find like because I do work full time and I run this business on the side or part time when I can, I just do things as I can. So I know the bath bombs have been selling like crazy. They take a couple of days to cure, at least 24 hours, but forever, like they just get hard over time. So I like to pre-make them when I have the chance or the time rather than wait for an order to come in a small quantity, just because I do know they sell so well. So anyhow, when I had the time to do these, I made them, just left them in here, kind of closed the door. They're safe, they're clean. And then went on and did some other things for the business. And now when I have time, I'm just getting back to them. So that's sort of how I run my small business. I try to do things in bulk, stage things in segments. I may not have all the time to fully make this through start to finish, get all the labeling, packaging on it. So I do it in stages, which has really helped my sanity and my I would say like ADHD or my need to get everything done. So if I can kind of, for each product I have, get it ready to a stage. It looks a little bit differently for the soap and the candles versus the bath bombs, but this works really, really well. So we've been renovating this this space actually last several months. So you'll see that some of the walls are finished, some of them aren't, but it's a bit of a labor of love. We get done in stages, similar to what I was describing before, what we can. But because I still very much have to operate the business, I sort of have to put things back so that I can keep going. I don't think anyone really cares. And probably to the contrary, it's sort of like this is what real life looks like. So as the business has grown and the business bank account increases, I am able to sort of buy the construction materials to renovate this room in pieces as well. And so if you're thinking about, you're running your own business and what that looks like for you, I think it's a pretty real representation for you to consider. If you're in the same boat I am, where you're renovating or needing space. And I find this space suits us just perfectly. It's not too big, not too small. Okay, so for the big bath bombs that I have, I put them in this sleeve in a column type fashion. I hope this is heated up enough. We'll see. And then you just, using the bar, there's nothing to push here, like it's just a handle. You just push it down. It's on a spring. Hold it for a couple of seconds, and then you turn it on its edge, and it's that edge that's going to kind of seal and cut. But I can tell, It actually did. It did. I thought it wasn't hot enough, but it did it. Yay. Just didn't do the one corner, so I'm just going to quickly do the corner again. This shrink wrap system, like this bar, is super handy, but it does take a bit to get used to, I will admit. I prefer it like you can buy sleeves, like on Amazon. You can go on and just buy shrink wrap pouches where it's just open on one end. So if this is intimidating for you, you're just starting out, do that. That's what I started with. Just now that I do a bit more of a quantity, I splurged for this, but I very well could have still been using those pouches. And then you just have to buy yourself a little heat gun, which you also can get on Amazon. You can get them at Canadian Tire, Home Hardware, wherever. And then you just hit it. It's like I'll show it to you here when I get to that stage. But it's I want to say those heat guns maybe run, I don't know, maybe $60, $75, but the pouches are cheap. So again, I'm just pushing down, holding it. That's kind of sealing the biofilm, and then I'm turning it on its edge, which is like kind of slicing it, and you just kind of gently pull at the bath bombs, and it just kind of pulls that biofilm away. Pretty handy. Just gonna get my next tray here going. So I've shared on previous videos my bath bomb recipes. So if you're interested in making them, you can check those out. They're just under my playlist called recipes, I believe. And the nice thing about the bath bomb recipe I use is I find the recipe works well in any weather. Like when I was starting to research bath bombs and starting to play with recipes, I was getting all this advice, or like YouTube, like just, other makers saying, you got to you got to make sure the humidity is the right temperature. Like, oh my God, it just seems so complicated. Where I find this recipe, I make bath bombs year round. I make them at Christmas. I make them right now it's the summer, it's in Canada, so it's super humid. And they come out the same. They're hard. They press well. They are just nice. So anyway, if you're looking for a bath bomb recipe, you're welcome to give mine a try. It's free. I got it off of another YouTuber, kind of played with it, made it my own. And because I got so much free off of YouTube, essentially almost everything I've made has been from other makers. I like to give back as much as I can. So I'm happy to share the recipe. Okay, so I have 3 columns right now. So I'm going to show you how this works the other way, which is why this is sort of the efficiency that you can. Now, if I had a bigger table, I could probably do 4 or 5 of these, but slow and steady for me. I like to kind of have it. This is very manageable for me. And again, I'm small scale, not, a big production maker here. I find the key is just to be patient. If you try to pull it away and it's not coming, just kind of go back flat and then go on its edge again, and it'll come. And because I use biofilm, this biodegradable shrink wrap, it's not maybe as thick as other shrink wrap films that you can get, like the real plastic stuff. So sometimes I have to do double. I have to do this whole process a second time. When I hit it with the heat gun, sometimes it pulls and there's a little hole will open up. And I, of course, don't want that because people will handle them, like they'll pick them up in the store to try to smell them. Or, of course, if I'm, doing an online order, like someone's purchasing on my website, you don't want the package to arrive and have it, little chalky bits coming out. That's not pretty. So this one didn't seal, so I'll still I don't know what I'm gonna do with that one. I'll think about that one. I rushed that one maybe a little bit too much. And the other thing is this wand isn't, the more patient you are and let this wand heat up, the better this goes. But I have to drive one of my kids to work here shortly, and so I just don't have the luxury of always waiting the perfect amount of time I should. Okay. So those guys are all sealed in with layer 1. Just underneath my station here, I just have my heat guns ready to go. It's just hooked up weird to this card. I'm just going to fix it below the cord. Okay. I think. So yeah, this is a Mastercraft. So this one's just from Canadian Tire, but I just turn it to level 2. Play with it, whatever one you get. And then you just hit it with the heat gun and kind of roll it around a bit. But see, this one didn't seal, so you can see how there's an opening there. I'm going to double wrap it, so it's not the end of the world. By any means, actually. But just to show you what I was describing before with how it's, I'm sure it's user error. Like, I'm sure I'm not the best at this, but anyway, we'll get double wrapped. And then it'll be just fine. I sometimes will put a little glove on too. Like I have a, it's actually a hair straightener. And a hair straightener that I got. It's like a little black mitt so that you don't burn your hand if you're straightening your hair. But I just use it for this, and it, if you're careful, you're fine. Like it's not, you're not going to burn yourself. But if you're doing this for a prolonged period of time, it's kind of nice because it just gives you a little bit more of a barrier for your hand. But again, you can kind of see me moving it. Like just, you're going to obviously move if it gets warm. It just depends what kind of mood I'm in. All right, so this is the one that had the big split in it. I'll show you. I'm gonna blow that off. So this is the other thing is I actually kind of treat this room very much like a workspace. I actually just kind of like try to be clean, but once a week I go in with a really good, mop and broom, vacuum. Yeah, so this guy's got a big split too. So it's no problem. I'll just gonna redo these anyway, put them all in a double sleeve. My only complaint with this setup, like I really like having its own table and everything, but it's just a bit narrow. So at some point I'll probably look for just a bit wider and a bit longer of a work surface here, like this little island I'm working off of. I can make it work, but it's just a wee bit tight. But I find space is the balance, right? Because for any of you out there that do what I do, or starting to get into it, you will quickly see you start making product, storing product, you run out of space. So it's all a balance. And then I do have my nice tables behind me, like my islands behind me, and I have a couple little rolly carts that I move around. So you just I kind of just make it work. So my wand's starting to heat up really nice now. You can probably see like that was a lot easier for me. I am pushing down a bit too. Like it does require a little bit of force. So again, if this is just like looks a little scary for you, don't worry. You can just do the pouch way. But when I see people that get really good at this, they like line it up, and then just go and bang them out. It's pretty. It's one of those videos I like to really watch, actually. Other makers do, because some of them just have it down to such a sweet spot. It's just kind of, I don't know, a bit mesmerizing to watch, I guess. I'm in awe. My husband actually, sometimes he helps me, like if I get behind on orders, and this is one thing, he really likes to do this. and it's a win-win because it's just it's not my favorite thing to do. He likes it. So if I get behind and he asks and is available, I'll give him the shrink wrapping to do. I used to get paranoid too about or more particular about the size of the pouch. Like you can see there's actually quite a bit of space there. Was worried that when I would hit it with the heat gun that it wouldn't form, it wouldn't cling up properly, but it does. So if you're doing this way, you know, I do put it to the edge of where that bath bomb ends, but it's not, it's pretty rough. Like you don't have, this is not, you don't have to be overly particular about it, which is nice. It will shrink up nicely. That's still stuck. I'm going to try to cut it again, this edge. This last line I find always a little bit tricky too. I got to push them right to the edge, get them lined up, get my fingers out of the way. Came off really nice. Yeah, it's starting. This bar is, I would say now, just perfect temperature. It's just, everything's just pulling away beautifully. All right, let's hit these with the heat gun again. I'm just again on that setting 2. I don't know if you can see, maybe I'm not showing you exactly, but you don't have to be super, you just kind of, and any pieces like that, if it's still warm, you can kind of hit it and like roll it to kind of push that. Once it's warm, it has like the pliability of cellophane, or like a sandwich shrink wrap, kind of cling wrap. And I kind of just roll it around to make sure that I've got all sides, but it goes pretty quick once you get used to it. I would say that the heat gun piece I've mastered, I've gotten really much better at. It's the wand, the first step, that I'm not super expert on. So I do have labels. I think I've shown them on other videos. I'll show them again today so you can see what they are. But the last label, where it actually has the name of the bath bomb and all the ingredients on it, I actually don't put those on until I get an order, because I find I like to put them in boxes, just store them away nice and clean. And I find if I put the label on them, it's just kind of longer that it'll get like crimped, or, you know, just won't look as fresh as it could. So I design my labels on Canva, and then I order them on Sticker Mule. But these are for the bath bombs I just made. They're called Sensitive, and that's what they look like. And they're just in these strips. So I will just peel this whole strip off and then band it around the bath bomb when it's ready to go. But again, because I'm just making these in advance, I don't have an order yet. This is the stage I like to do them at. And then I can put them in something like this and just put them on my storage shelf. And then it takes me a whole of, 15 seconds to put that final label on for order. So I'm just going to gently put these in this cardboard box I was showing you earlier. And they will just sit like this until I get an online order. I actually do have a craft show coming up on the August long weekend. So if these last that long, I'll certainly bring those there. Or if I get a retail order. I'm just going to put this heat gun under my bottom shelf. And I've got one more Sensitive to go, and then I'm into the Rose and Clay, the second kind of bath bomb that I made ahead. Put him in there. I don't know why he's a him. It's funny, one thing, I really like doing the YouTube channels because I find I've been getting remarkably good feedback. There's been, a couple of, I wouldn't call it like overly negative, but I would call it, I find in the soaping community, like sometimes people like to, critique or overly critique. Like I've had a couple of people be like, you know, the fragrance oils on your back shelf are not all natural, and I'm claiming to be all natural. And it's like, well, thank you for that. However, the fragrance oils on this back shelf are for my candles, and they're phthalate free and paraben free. So it just sometimes is like you sort of feel, I catch myself kind of getting into this defensive mode where you're like, whoa, 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 like I'm not doing anything wrong here. Why are you even offering that kind of feedback? Like, just if what I'm offering and what I'm showing for free is not for you, you don't like it, why would you go to your way to critique it? But I have to say, I've maybe only gotten so far 2 or 3 of those types of comments. And the one, actually, even though I would say it was phrased in maybe not such a kind way, there was something I had on one of my product titles that actually helped me. I was like, oh, I didn't think of it like that. So I actually ended up changing the listing of some of my soaps due to that feedback. So that was good in a way. But my point being, you know, I've been doing YouTube now for about 6 months because we're into July. And it's been like surprisingly positive. I was worried to put myself out like on. I want to do it because I want to keep my passion for doing this alive, and I'm hyper. And if I don't have something new to make, which I'm kind of at that stage right now where I'm not ready for a new product launch yet, or like a big product launch. So I'm just day in and day out running my business. I was looking for another challenge. And so the YouTube came up as that opportunity. But my hesitation was, you know, a few hesitations, but one of them was, am I going to get all these nasty comments, and is that going to hurt my business because people will start, you know, just that negative marketing or negative, but it's been really positive. And I've even asked, like, often on my videos, I'll ask a question, like, everything I know is just either from other YouTubers or trial and error for myself. And sometimes, you know, I'll say, like, I don't know, this is just how I know to do it, but does anyone else have a different way? And like I've been getting so much help even just from those comments and people answering those questions. So it's been really worth my while, because you do sometimes, you know, you're doing it all by yourself, right? And again, like my poor husband, I'll ask his opinion, but you know, this isn't his passion. And so sure, he gives me his opinion, but it's not like he's like, I'm looking at TikTok videos, I'm looking at Instagram accounts, I'm just totally into this world, you know, where he's going golfing. Like, it's just not, you know, so he'll help, but I find it so useful to be in this community and have other like-minded people that are doing their own research, running their own businesses, more successful than me, whatever. And I have found that to be super helpful and positive. So I do put the recipes I've shared. This like kind of peachy pink colored is a clay. It is interesting though. So the ones that are just like the white, those are just the sensitive. I don't add anything to them other than kaolin clay. But the ones that I add like a colored clay, they are a little more chalky, a little more dusty than the other ones. Which is funny because I substitute. So like my recipe calls for kaolin clay. I'll just substitute, like let's say it's, you know, 6 tablespoons of kaolin clay. I'll back it off and just put the other clay in, the same measurement, but it still is chalky, more chalky. I don't know why that is, but it is the case. And again, I find about 3 columns all I can handle. Now, if you're doing bath bombs or whatever, the size of what you're doing very well will be different than mine. My bath bombs are quite big. And that wasn't actually by purpose. It was just I ordered a mold at one point, and that's what worked. I liked the mold. It worked. It just came into, you know, all the stars aligned. But I will say In a perfect world, I probably would make these a bit smaller. So if you were just starting out making bath bombs, I would aim for, I think these are, I don't know what they are. They might be a 325 or a 350 inch. At one point I measured them. It is on my website. But they're big. But I would say like do like a 250, 2.5 inch maybe. Because I will say, like, people will give me comments about, oh, these bath bombs are so big, and I don't really take it as a, like, they're not like, oh, that's great, I'm getting value. They're like, ah, they're too big. So if you're starting out, maybe make them a little smaller. My kid bath bombs I was showing you earlier are much smaller, but you just sometimes go with the flow, right? Like you figure out what works, you just do that. Don't try to. When I first started, I would watch a YouTuber make bath bombs, let's say, and then I'd be like, I need that exact system, that exact. You don't. Just get, start with a mold, see if you like it, see if it works for the recipe, and if you hit success, just stick to that. Because it's so weird, but what I find comfortable to work with, like I like using a metal sphere, like a hand press sphere. I actually have bought like a bigger bath bomb presser where you hook it up to like an air compressor. And I keep trying to get it out. It's just not for me. I don't like it. I like just the little hand press. But again, I'm not making, mass quantities here, so I can appreciate that if you had to make 100 of these in a day, my method would not be for that. If you're just starting out, it works well. Or like me, I'm not necessarily just starting out, but I just have a manageable quantity. So again, I have to do a double layer on these, and I don't know if it's the biofilm that I use because it's biodegradable, so it's not a thick plastic, it's quite thin. Or if it's like skill because I'm not super good at this system, but either way, I have just always double wrapped them, and then I don't worry. They just stay packaged nice and firm, whether I'm shipping, whether I'm in-person sales. And I've never had one split on me yet. I'm sure it will happen someday, but it just works well. I've had the same roll of biofilm too since I've started my business, and I will admit, like I've just added bath bombs within the last 6 months to my product line, and I did a whole video about my strong recommendation to do it because for whatever reason I was sleeping on it, wasn't really focused on bath bombs. I was more focused on soap and candles, and the bath bombs have taken off like crazy. Again, I don't know why. That may not be your experience. But one question I will ask is, if anyone wants to share, is there anything that you've added to your product line that has just been super successful that you'd like to share? Because I am always looking. I love to try. I love to experiment. And chances are, I find now, because I have so many ingredients, there's a lot of times I have, I'll look up a recipe for something and I'm like, oh, I have that oil. I have that for, whatever it is. I have recently just, I would say in the last 6 months, added shampoo bars. I did a video on that process, and that's been a long process for me, getting a recipe that I was really happy with and the consistency of the bar that I was really happy with. And I'm hopeful that they are going to take off, but I'll check back in and let you know. At Christmas, when I made them before, and I mean, I made them, I just wasn't in love with them. And so they weren't something I offered on my website, but I would make them for market. And they were nice. Like the actual product, when you used it in your hair felt good. I just didn't like the actual process of making them, and I didn't like the consistency of the bar. Like they were more crumbly than I had wanted. I wanted them to be like a smooth. Anyway, I figured that out. So I'm hopeful that that's gonna start to take off, just like the bath bombs have. And then I will say, like the candles and soap, anything in Christmas goes. So definitely keep soap and candles. Like I would start soap and candles because that's like a baseline. That's certainly what I'm known for. Um, but the bath bombs are crazy. And they're relative, like once you get a recipe that works for you, like I was saying, the one I use, I've never had problems with it. You just, you make them and then the next day they're hard. So it's a pretty good opportunity because as you know, for those soap makers out there, it's, you know, you're waiting 3 or 4 weeks for that batch to cure. And that's hard to keep up with estimating what's going to sell in 3 or 4 weeks. I just keep walking back here. This is just my garbage. I could have brought it over, I suppose, but and here's the bath bombs I finished, just again in the cardboard box. I'll put these on my storage shelf and wait for the order. That's it for today. If you enjoyed today's video, I would appreciate a subscribe and a like. It goes a long way for a small business owner. Thanks. Bye-bye.